Most millionaires or successful billionaires, successful entrepreneurs, it doesn't matter, live off of biblical principles. And they understand, they see money as a seed, not just as a source. You know, we all are victims of it, especially if you're the first generation of six-figure earners. And it basically comes down to lifestyle. I don't even have the opportunity to strategize. And if that is the case, I mean, take a long, hard stare and make some hard decisions about what you're willing to sacrifice today in exchange for a easier lifestyle tomorrow. If you let your current self win every time, your future self is going to look back at you like, oh, I should have done better.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Anthony. Listen, I'm excited about this episode because there's not many times. In fact, this is the first time we've ever had like a wealth manager on the podcast. And I know a lot of people listening right now, you guys have been with us. We have some amazing guests, but I'm telling you right now, there's nothing better when you're sitting down with an expert. And so I'm going to ask all the questions you probably want to ask, and this is the moment. And today I am sitting here with someone that we are excited to have on this show, guys. You're probably already going through the show notes. You're probably already clicking it. You're probably already following her on Instagram. We got the one and only Lavaisha on the podcast. What's going on, fam? How are you?
I am doing well today. How about yourself, mister? How's everything going?
Oh, man, things are going phenomenal. You know, I want to ask you questions today. You know, I just really want to get into it. I know our audience, they got their pen, they got their paper, they got their pad. But take us back though, right? I think it's such an interesting career that you're in. Take us back to like the young you growing up, right? This is School's Over Now What podcast. And I'm curious for you, was there something in school that got you into this category, that got you into this space? Take us back to the young you growing up.
Oh my gosh, it depends on how far back we want to go, but I'm at least going to set some context right now, right? So I'm the youngest of four children. My mother was a single parent raising four children. It was three girls and one boy. So the dynamics of our household was always like chaotic, as you can imagine, right? At that time, being the youngest, I was blessed and fortunate to kind of see a lot of things ahead of time, the do's, the don'ts, what I wanted, what I didn't want. So that kind of shaped me already, probably going in a different direction as I graduated from high school. But even then, I wanted to go to medical school. So in my undergrad studies, I was a biology major, completely separate from finance, no connection whatsoever. But I also was fortunate enough to meet my life partner after I graduated high school, or my senior year in high school. So he had more of an entrepreneur type of bug. Probably this was back in like 2008, 2009. I'm showing my age. This was, before entrepreneurship was trendy, before it was the thing to do. It was when it was judged and overlooked, and our parents would be like, y'all just need to get a job. Uh, so his entrepreneur journey kind of introduced me to entrepreneurship. And it was really the trials, the tribulations, the failures, the lessons that drove me to have to learn more about money. That experience, coupled with some life experience that occurred in my family, is really what brought me here today. That if families don't have anyone inside of it that is deciding to take control over their financial future, it's just going to be left to chance. It's just going to be a what if. It's just going to be a day by day movement instead of a structured strategy movement with intention. And that's just what I wanted to become, and that's what I did for my family.
I like that for you, right? Having that intention and knowing that, and also recognizing that. I got to ask you a question that I know people are thinking about right now is what's the biggest lie you feel like that people like believe, like when it comes to wealth and like generating wealth, what do you feel like is the biggest lie that is keeping people broke?
Oh wow, that wealth is really centered around income. We, because we live in such a short attention span society right now, our effort is to do things quickly. So we believe that if we make more money right now, that wealth is a result. And that is the biggest misconception is wealth is not an automatic result of income. So you can be making a lot of money and still not be establishing true wealth.
I like that. You know, also too, I think about, you know, especially the entrepreneur listening right now, they're accumulating money. We'll get to that in a second. And they're making money, but no one even taught them how to make the money, let alone how to save the money. So this is like spot on to what I'm thinking. And I can imagine your journey has caused you to realize a lot of this? And was there like a moment on your journey that you'll say, okay, this was Shawn, this was the breakthrough. This is where I realized I had cracked the code per se to wealth. What was that breakthrough for you that kind of realized just that?
So that breakthrough happened in two ways. It's a twofold situation for me. The breakthrough happened once when I realized that we were not creating wealth. And then there was a second breakthrough of when we start, okay, this is really starting to make a difference. So the first breakthrough, unfortunately, as I mentioned, I was the youngest of four, but my brother was a victim of violence. As a result of that, his life was ended early. And it was very unfortunate to experience my mother lose her only son, but she couldn't afford to grieve. She had to go right back to work. We didn't have the resources to bury my brother properly. My niece was 10 years old at the time. And what was so devastating is because even at that time when my brother passed away, we had already been on this entrepreneur journey for about 5 to 6 years, right? So we thinking like we literally thought that we were doing it just because we were business owners and we had experienced a little bit more income than we were used to. We thought that we had made a difference, but not being able to supply or help my family in its most desperate times was the biggest breakthrough. Like, yes, we're not doing something right. It was tough, it was tough. So once we kind of shifted our perspective, it's like, hey, even if we were doing well in entrepreneurship, that should not be at the negate of our family not doing well. There should be some share of resource, or there should be some value exchange, something that if something like that happens inside of a family, we can collectively pull together. So from there, we started to see our family more like a corporation, like a business. Like, how can we capitalize on all the resources we already have and can circulate income, money in here to help everybody elevate? So then we made another breakthrough where we decided, hey, we know that we love starting companies. We transferred over to now starting and selling companies. And when we either acquired a company or started one, the first set of employees, we always look to our family first. Who can we help employ? Where are we already spending money at that we could otherwise put in a family member's pocket? For example, I'm a mother of four too. I didn't even get to share that part. And that's a handful. And I had to go to the expert, like, Mom, I don't know how you raise four kids. I need your help because I'm already paying for care. My mother has been a caregiver for 30 plus years. Why would I not pay my mother instead of a outside party for services I'm already rendering? That's circulating money. And then we started to see some changes there. So that was the biggest breakthrough, and it really helped take not only myself and my husband and our immediate family, but our external families to new heights.
Yeah, I really like this. Whenever I have these conversations, and we have guests on this show, we do solo episodes, but what I like about this conversation is that it's so real. If you think about it, right? So many people listening to this right now will have an unfortunate situation that happens to them in their life, and they can either choose to crumble or they can do what you did, right? Learn from it and set your family up to win. I think it's so powerful. And I want to touch into this based off of what you just said. A lot of people, they don't get that. They're afraid to hire family members. They think if they hire family members, they won't respect the work they're doing. The good point I think that you brought up, one of the good points that I value was the circulation of money. I'm curious for you, for those people who are afraid to do that, what's been some of the positives that you've noticed, especially from generating wealth? Like, what's been one of the positives outside of you already mentioned by hiring your family members that I think someone right now listening to can like listen and say, "Oh, I got it now. I need to do what Lavaisha just said."
I get it. The fear of hiring family members for some of the reasons you just mentioned, the lack of respect or understanding or mistreatment, all these different situations can occur. But what we tend to do is put things on our family that may be outside of their scope or their expertise and skill set. We have to identify the needs that they can best fulfill. And if that doesn't exist, don't force it. Now, the skill that they do have, how can we just help elevate that? Another misconception is that I don't want to, mislead that everybody has to hire their family. Everybody doesn't have to work in the same business together or in a hierarchy. We just have to be in the business of working together. So if I have a cleaning company and then and my sister has a something that deals with the type of equipment that we need for the cleaning company, we can still be in the business of working together while she still has her own individual success. So that's what I would encourage everyone to do, is to clearly evaluate what is it that your family member that you're considering working with, what do they really want to do? Is it in alignment with something you're doing? Or is it something they need to stand on their own and I just can be a resource, or how can I help you take that to the next level? And then we will combine resources, which I hope we get the chance to talk about at a different level of how we're going to work together.
Oh, this is good. This is really good. I'm thinking as you're talking, because you connecting the dots, but also too, you're like saying, "Listen, guys, I didn't just tell you go hire everybody in your family. Find out what they're really good at. Find out what they're really good at, or find out what business they're doing and outsource them." And it's so funny you mentioned cleaning company. I'm trying to get a hold of my cleaning company right now. I ain't got no family member starting a cleaning company, so I think it's so funny that you mentioned that. It just makes so much sense when you break it down like that. I'm curious right now. Someone listening right now is saying, "Okay, I've lost everything and I only have a little bit," right? If you lost everything today and had to start from scratch, and you had $1,000, and I wrote this one down, you had $1,000, what's the first thing, like if you're Lavaisha, what's the first thing you'll do to rebuild wealth?
Ooh, well, the first thing is you got to have the mentality to know that even if you feel like you lost everything, you still got to suit back up, get back out there on the field, because we still got a game to win. Period. And if you have $1,000, we are looking for, I think we know now that starting a service based business is probably the easiest way to grow because it has the least amount of overhead. And if you put something with some where it has some purpose and seek of that profit. So, for example, I start in financial services. Life insurance is a service based business where you can meet purpose and profit, where you can really change the trajectory of someone's life and make money with it. And you can do that for less than $1,000. So, I am trying to conquer a skill that I can bring value to someone and can make a profit off of it. Because the thing about it, we can all do our kingdom work, but the Bible never said we didn't have to get compensated for it. Never said that. So you tie some purpose behind it, and you're gonna get where somewhere a lot further. But that $1,000 can go a long way in a service based business.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I got to ask you, what's the difference between being rich and being truly wealthy?
Rich is usually centered around how much money you make. Wealth is centered around how much money you're able to keep, how you're able to convert your income to value. Like, we have to understand that the money that we make is essentially just a resource to pay for our day-to-day expenses, but we have to make an intentional choice to take that value or I'm sorry, that dollar, and convert it into multiple dollars with minimal effort. And not saying we don't have to work, we're just using more strategy than energy to multiply that dollar. So that's the difference between the rich and the wealth, at least in my personal opinion and professional.
Yeah, I gotta ask you, like, knowing that, right? It makes me just say to myself, and I gotta ask you, why do you think so many people are chasing the wrong one?
Because it is the narrative that is pushed, and that is not, that's not by mistake. The narrative, there's three organizations that know how much wealth potential you have better than you. Those three organizations are the banks, the media, and the government. They are very much aware. They look at something called your human capital value. What is that? That means how much money you're going to earn in your lifetime, not just how much you're going to make in a year or in a week or in a month. No, how much are you going to earn in a lifetime? And because we're living longer now than we were in previous generations, they are calculating that 70, 80 years worth of human capital value. They know millions of dollars are going to flow through your hands, and they have specific things in place to extract every bit of that resource. So I don't care how much money you make, this world is designed to take it from you. That's why everybody's chasing the wrong thing. We have to kind of take a step back Be able to look at things from a big picture, know your own human capital value, and be intentional about where you want to direct it.
Yeah, this is good. You know, when people think about this, right? You're listening to this, right? That's a really good question. If you like sat down, it's one of those questions. Like if I sat down in the middle of the night, it will probably keep me up. If you're listening to this, is all right. What is my value? What is the human capital like? And the way you broke that down is so good. It's almost as if these three organizations know us better than we know ourselves, and it's kind of like you gotta beat the belief of knowing that you are worthy of that amount.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
I gotta ask you, right? With the economy constantly, like it's constantly shifting. There's someone right now saying, "All right, cool. What is the number one way right now to like recession proof your business? And what would be your advice on that?"
I would not want to mislead and say that there is a way to recession proof, because recession is just one economic cycle. The economies moves in cycles. So it's not about being recession proof, because that's only addressing one cycles. We have, or one cycle. We have multiple cycles to address. So I can't make you recession proof. What we can do is do something called scenario based planning. So no matter what economic cycle we're in, we have more higher chances to win in that economic cycle. Like that's the difference between wealth management and just kind of advice. Like, oh no, we are already planning out if we have an economic downturn, if we have another global pandemic, if the real estate market crashes, if the matriarch or patriarch passes away, if all of these scenarios that are most likely to happen, how can we still withstand them?
Oh man, you talking good. You talking good. And guys, I know you're probably like, Shawn, let's get to this resources, but nah, we gonna get there. This is one of those conversations that I know people right now are listening to. There might even be, if you're listening to this, don't feel ashamed. This is happening. There's a lot of research going on right now where there's a lot of income reports on six-figure earners. And why do you feel like so many six-figure earners still live? And you probably notice they still live paycheck to paycheck. And what's the one move they should make to change that today? They're making over six figures.
We all are victims of it, especially if you're the first generation of six figure earners. Like none of us are to it. And it basically comes down to like lifestyle, right? Like that's when I mentioned those three organizations, media being one, they influence our lifestyle decisions. Like the marketing, all of that kind of, they are designed to take those resources and those dollars from us. So, one thing, and it's the most basic thing that you can do, is just literally evaluate your income and expenses. If they are neck and neck, that is where the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle comes from. Every time a dollar comes in, I have to dish it out. I don't even have the opportunity to strategize where to send this dollar. And if that is the case, I mean, take a long, hard stare and make some hard decisions about what you're willing to sacrifice today in exchange for a easier lifestyle tomorrow. Because there's always going to be a fight between your current self and your future self. And if you let your current self win every time, your future self is going to look back at you like, oh, I should have done better. So you always got to think those two timelines in mind. Our timelines are overlapping very, very quickly, guys. How many of us have our parents that don't have retirement? So now their expenses are impeding on our income. And like as the millennial, most of the time it's millennials that's experiencing this. Now our dollars are split between 3 time zones. It's split in the past for our parents, it's split between us presently trying to take care of ourselves, it's split between the future trying to take care of these kids who got the nerve to ask for some of the stuff we wouldn't even dare ask for, like seafood boils, sushi, Star like, and now that same dollar. So I don't want to judge or fault anyone if your income and expenses are equivalent, but we are going to have to sit back and make some hard decisions to adjust that so we can do better for ourselves in the future.
Yeah, this is so good. One of the things I think about, right? It's very rarely, guys, I'm talking to someone that can relate to this all the way. But you said something earlier, and you're a mother of four, and I got four kids, and I have my daughter's the oldest. And then I have both of my sons are in the middle, and then my youngest as a daughter as well. And luckily for me, their ages at the very highest. My daughter will turn 8 in May, and my youngest is 1. So I haven't got to the point of the seafood bowls and the sushi, but I can only imagine that day is coming. And so I was smiling. I could totally see my daughter asking for that seafood bowl.
I mean, I am telling you. So first of all, you're very fortunate because you got some boys in there. We have 4 girls. So please pray for us. I'm telling you, keep us in your prayers. And the ages range from we have a 13, 11, 8, and 6. So it is so we're right there. We're right there. But building for them while simultaneously building for ourselves and building for each of our parents because they did not have the information at their fingertips like we do. They did their best that they could with the resources that they had. Now we have to figure out how to make this six-figure income sustain all of this. And that can be challenging. That's exactly why we encourage someone in the family to step up and say, this isn't going to happen anymore. We are going to build a self-sustainable system in our family where when the matriarch and patriarch, when they retire, they already have income coming from them, whether Social Security is around or not, whether they have pensions or not. Or when our children want to explore their opportunities, whether it's higher education, entrepreneurship, creativity, traveling the world, whatever you choose to do, they have the resources to do that. And nobody has to bootstrap it all the time. I mean, bootstrapping is fine, but wealthy families aren't bootstrapping anymore, and it's just they don't have to, and somebody has to start that journey.
Oh, this is good. I gotta ask you. What's one? Think about this, right? What's one when you think about this? What's one wealth building strategy that you wish more Black and Brown communities even knew about?
Woo, private market investments. What it means to be an accredited investor or a qualified purchaser.
Oh, you gotta break that down. I can't let you go without. You gotta break that down.
Yes, so those are accredited investor or a qualified purchaser are different titles that you receive when you meet certain requirements to be able to take advantage of more exclusive investments. Exclusive investments typically yield the biggest return. So when I talk about exclusive investments, that's what institutions, that's how they invest. And I want you to think, because this is going to make the connection about what I just said, building that self-sustainable system. Because institutions have a fiduciary responsibility to their members. So, like when we think about the firefighters or the police officers or people who are still going to receive pensions, that's because there's an institution investing money that is supposed to yield a big enough return to pay someone income for 30, 40 years. What I would encourage our members of our Black and Brown community is to gather together where we can meet these requirements, where we can become accredited investors or qualified purchasers to set up the same type of system for our own individual families.
Mm, that's tough. That's tough. No one's ever broken that down, and it's almost like it's one of those secrets that's just out there. Only if you come across the right people, ask the right questions, and get exposed to it. And so I got a couple more I gotta get out the way because I know the audience is wondering about this. You've
Yeah.
obviously, in the role that you've been in, you've had the opportunity to work with many people, understand many wealth strategies, understand what's working and what's not working. I myself find myself sometimes studying some of these habits and studying some of these successful people. So I want to ask you, what are the top 3 money habits? I know habits are so important. James Clear wrote a book called Atomic Habits. What are like the top 3 money habits of millionaires that pretty much separate them from everybody else?
Ooh, so when we talk about money habits, um, things that we're doing on a regular, eh, people know their relationship with money. They know their money well. When their money comes in, they direct their money. They don't let their money direct themselves in any way, shape, or form. Like even if you are spending it on lifestyle, you still know what you're spending it on in your lifestyle. That's number one, knowing the direction of your money at all times. The second thing is most millionaires or successful billionaires, successful entrepreneurs, it doesn't matter, live off of biblical principles. We all have access to these biblical principles, and they understand, they see money as a seed, not just as a source. So they're constantly in planting mode because the word tells us that we should sow our seeds and multiply it. That's how we receive our blessings. So because they understand that, they're constantly looking for planting opportunities. That's number two. How can I plant? Where can I plant this seed? And we want to plant it deep. And the third thing is they always surround themselves with the type of system where when that seed gets planted, the likelihood of it harvesting is high because they're going to surround themselves that's going to give them just enough sunlight, just enough water, and rich enough soil where the seeds that they're planting are just going to grow. So always think about your dollars as a seed that needs to be planted and finding the proper soil and resources to make this the biggest harvest that can continue to harvest and not just harvest for you, but for multiple people.
Oh, I like that because when you think about harvesting for multiple people, a lot of parents listen to this show. A lot of people, they grow up, they go through college, they start their careers, school's over. Now what? They're thinking about this. They're thinking about generational wealth. It's a term that a lot of people talk about. And as parents, we think about all the money and all the smart things we should be doing for our kids. And then I got to ask you this question: most people talk about leaving wealth to their kids, but what's the biggest mistake parents make when trying to build generational wealth?
Not having a structure with it. What we can pass on money as much as we like, but if they don't have the infrastructure or the guidance or the literacy to maintain it or to sustain it or to steward it, we're just going to end up going from rags to riches back to rags again. It's not just the money that matters. It's the counsel, it's the structure, it's the strategic planning. And what I want to say is when I say stewardship, like we are if you want to give your children valuable resources, they have to know how to steward it properly. When I say counsel, again, I'm always going to resort to biblical principles because that's the framework for all of this. It clearly tells us where there is no counsel, the people will fail, but in abundance of counsel, there will be victory. So you have to start to introduce your children to the counsel that you use. They shouldn't meet them when you pass away and now it's time for them to receive everything. No. Who guides us in these particular areas? So the biggest mistake they make is no counsel, no infrastructure, no information, no rules, no it's just a free for all. And that's the biggest mistake that we can make.
Oh man, that's good. There's so many people listening to this right now, and I think about exactly what you just said. Right? I feel like there's also generations that just have missed out. There's generations that acquire money, lose money, but no one ever really teaches us about money. And guys, if you're listening to this, hopefully you've learned that in this episode. You're probably saying right now, Shawn, listen, I want to know what are the resources, right? I heard words like scenario based planning, like just break down like the resources and the opportunities and things that you have that we can take full advantage of, so that we have this knowledge and we can prepare ourselves for that future.
Absolutely. So one thing I want to provide for even for a free resource, just to get your brains turning, we have an ebook that's dedicated to helping that family member step up. It's about becoming the family CEO, the one who is saying, I am going to go out here and at least learn this information, not become an expert, but become the CEO who is deciding to organize the team that is going to help us take it to the next level. So you can get that at www.mywealthandlegacy.com. That ebook is going to start, it's going to give you some great starting points from the beginning. So www.mywealthandlegacy.com. If you want to take it a step further, if you are really ready to take action and want to have a deeper conversation about your specific situation, you can visit my personal website. That's www.lavaishadavis.com. I hope the spelling will be included so you can just click on that. But if not, it's Lavaisha Davis.com. And in there, we can actually schedule a one-on-one, some time for us to decipher your particular situation, especially as entrepreneurs, if you're deciding to take that step to represent your family. But then other than that, don't be afraid to engage with professionals. We have this unknown fear that was kind of, embedded in us. What happens in our house stays in our house. We're not really ones to just share information.
So you can go to LavaishaDavis.com if you want to take that even deeper step and do a deep dive into your specific situation. And if you have the possibilities to become the family CEO and organize a team that can help you guys achieve your financial goals. And that when I say team, I just want to encourage people to don't be afraid to include professionals. Our community has had this long-standing rule that we don't bring people into our business, and we are breaking that rule. That rule is going out the window. We are no longer living by that rule because we need other people's expertise because we're not great at everything. We need other people's expertise because wealthy individuals do not do it by themselves. They have a team of individuals guiding them along the way. So do not be afraid to engage in a professional and bring them in or to pay for a professional.
Facts. Absolutely. I want to ask you this question. We ask this question to every single person that's ever been on this podcast. If you're that person that's getting ready to walk across that stage and graduate, perhaps you already got your degree, you're starting your career, or you're starting off in entrepreneurship, and you're asking yourself the question of the show, school's over, now what? What advice will Lavaisha Davis give?
Instead of saying school's over now, what? My thing would be school's over now, who? Who do I need to connect with to further develop whatever skill I need to develop at that time, whether it's communication or leadership or negotiations or whatever skill I need to develop? Who is going to help me get there? Who is where I want to be? Who is willing to pour into me? Who can I serve so I can get that information? So the next step is not always what, sometimes it's just who. That's what I'm gonna leave it with.
Guys, I hope you have enjoyed this episode right now. People want to know more about you. They want to follow you. We know about the website. We know about those things. Just give them your social media presence so they can follow you on socials so that we can stay in touch and continue to gain this type of information.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I try to keep it simple for everybody. So everything's just my name. X, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, everything is just at Lavaisha Davis. So I will be looking to connecting with more of you so we can really, do some great things together.
I'm excited about this, guys. For those who've been listening, I want you to always remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it. We'll see you next week. Yo, what you think? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I want to know what you learned. So if you wouldn't mind, would you take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast on your phone right now? Upload to your Instagram stories, tag me at Shawnn Anthony _, and then let me know in that Instagram story what is one thing that you learned. I love hearing from you, my listeners, thought leaders, former or current students all around the world. Let me know, and while you're doing this, go inside the podcast app, subscribe, leave a 5-star review and a 5-star rating. Again, this helps us reach more people. And if you want to be a part of this mission, helping us change the world one person at a time, it makes a massive difference by you leaving a review. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week. And remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it.